Tonight, somewhere in America, a backyard fire is dying too early. The flames collapse into red ash after barely an hour. The heat disappears. Everyone moves their chairs closer. Somebody throws on another log. Sparks explode upward for 30 seconds. Then the fire weakens again. You assume that is normal. You assume firewood just burns fast now. Please make sure to subscribe to my channel. You assume that is normal. You assume firewood just burns fast now. You assume that is normal. You assume firewood just burns fast now. But picture a farmhouse in Holmes County, Ohio in the winter of 1848. Snow pushing against the windows. No propane heater. No electric furnace. No thermostat glowing on the wall. Just one iron stove in the center of the house. And a fire so steady it burns through the entire night without being touched once. The Amish figured something out about fire that most Americans forgot almost 200 years ago. Something your grandfather probably knew. Something modern heating companies never had a reason to preserve. And tonight, I'm going to show you exactly why Amish fires burn nearly twice as long as modern fires using less wood, less effort, and almost no smoke. The first time I saw it, I was standing outside a barn near Berlin, Ohio on a January evening, so cold my breath froze against my beard. An Amish farmer named Levi opened the cast iron stove beside the workshop and placed inside what looked like an ordinary split log. But the wood sounded different, not hollow, heavy, dense, almost like stone. 3 hours later, that same log was still producing heat. Not flames, heat. Please make sure to subscribe to my channel. Slow, deep, steady heat that filled the entire building while my own campfire back home usually collapsed into ash in less than 90 minutes. I asked Levi what kind of wood he was using. He smiled and said something I never forgot. The fire's decided before the match is struck. At the time, I did not understand what he meant. I thought longer fires came from expensive stoves, special vents, or airflow tricks. But the Amish discovered generations ago that the real secret has almost nothing to do with the fire itself. It begins months earlier, sometimes a full year earlier. Because the greatest mistake modern Americans make with firewood is burning wood that is technically dry, but internally still alive. Most firewood sold in America today contains between 25 and 40% internal moisture, even when the outside feels dry to your hand. That hidden water turns your fire into a battle between heat production and evaporation. Part of your fire's energy is spent boiling trapped moisture out of the wood instead of heating your home. The result is weak flames, heavy smoke, fast collapse, and mountains of wasted wood. But Amish fire preparation follows a completely different system, a system older than electricity itself. Levi walked me behind his barn and showed me rows of stacked oak cut to identical length. Every stack faced south, every row elevated off the ground with airflow underneath, every pile covered on top but open on the sides. Then he told me the part most people never hear. The wood had been drying for nearly 2 years. Not 2 months, not 1 season, 2 full years. According to research published by the United States Department of Agriculture Forest. This laboratory, properly seasoned hardwood can produce nearly twice the usable heat of freshly cut wood because combustion efficiency rises dramatically as moisture content drops below 20%. But the Amish push even further. Many families aim for 10 to 15%. That changes everything. Because dry hardwood does not merely burn hotter, it burns slower, denser, cleaner. Please make sure to subscribe to my channel. A modern homeowner often mistakes giant flames for good heat, and the Amish understand the opposite. Large flames usually mean fuel escaping too quickly. Real heat comes from controlled combustion, steady coal beds, stored thermal energy, not fireworks. That is why Amish fires look strangely calm compared to modern backyard fires. Less chaos, more endurance. But the story gets deeper. Because wood choice matters almost as much as drying, most Americans buy whatever firewood is available. Mixed bundles, random softwoods, fast-burning pine, cheap poplar. The Amish are extremely selective. White oak, hickory, hard maple, black locust. Trees with exceptionally high density and tight grain structure. A study from the University of Nebraska-Lincoln compared BTU output across common American firewoods and found that dense hardwoods like hickory and oak can produce nearly double the long-term heating value of softer woods. Levi explained it in one sentence. Soft wood gives you flame, hardwood gives you winter. That sentence stayed with me because suddenly everything made sense. Modern Americans build fires for appearance. The Amish build fires for survival. And once you understand that difference, you start noticing something uncomfortable. The entire modern heating culture is built around consumption. More fuel, more propane, more pellets, more electricity, more monthly bills. But old farmhouse systems were designed around conservation, stretching every resource, making one log do the work of 3. Nobody profits from teaching people how to burn half as much wood. There is no billion-dollar industry in self-reliance. That knowledge survives, mostly in old farmhouses, handwritten journals, and the memories of older men who learned it from fathers and grandfathers before them. I found one of those journals in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. A translated German notebook dated 1871 belonging to a farmer named Samuel Byler. Inside was an entry describing what he called sleeping wood, logs cut during the coldest part of winter when sappy movement inside the tree was lowest. According to the journal, those trees dried faster, burned cleaner, and produced heavier coal beds than wood harvested during spring growth. At first, I thought it sounded like folklore. Then I discovered forestry studies showing that winter, harvested hardwood, often contains lower internal moisture and reduced biological activity compared to spring-cut timber. The old farmers were observing real combustion science long before scientific terminology existed. They did not know the phrase moisture equilibrium. They knew what burned through the night. That is the pattern you see again and again in Amish communities. Observation first, science catches up later. And there's one more piece almost nobody talks about anymore: airflow. Modern fires are usually overfed with oxygen. People leave dampers wide open because they think more air creates better fire. In reality, too much oxygen makes wood burn aggressively and disappear faster. The Amish learned to restrict airflow slowly after the coal bed forms. Not enough to suffocate the fire, just enough to slow combustion into a deep radiant burn. This creates what old stove makers called a lazy flame. Small flame, massive heat, minimal wood loss. A properly managed hardwood coal bed can continue radiating usable heat for hours after visible flames disappear. That is why Amish homes often remain warm until morning, even when no one touches the stove overnight. The heat was stored inside the coals themselves, not the flames. Now, before you think this only applies to old cabins or antique stoves, stay with me, because this next part matters if you own any fireplace, wood stove, backyard pit, or even a simple camping fire ring. Here is exactly what to do. First, stop burning freshly cut wood. If you buy firewood, stack it outdoors under a roof or tarp with the sides exposed to airflow for at least 12 months. 18 to 24 months is even better for oak. Second, separate your wood by type. Use softwoods like pine only for ignition. Use dense hardwood for long heat. Third, stack wood off the ground. Moisture rises from soil directly into logs. The Amish use rails, pallets, or stone foundations beneath every wood stack. Fourth, never completely smother your fire with giant logs at the start. Build heat first, create a coal bed, then add dense hardwood gradually. And fifth, once the fire is established, reduce airflow slightly. Not fully closed, just enough to slow the burn. You're not trying to create bigger flames, you are trying to create longer heat. That single mindset shift changes everything. I started using this system last winter. Same fire pit, same backyard, same climate. But suddenly my fires lasted nearly twice as long using less wood than before. The smoke almost disappeared once the hardwood fully ignited. Please make sure to subscribe to my channel. And for the first time in years, I woke up the next morning and found live coals still glowing under the ash. That is when I understood what Levi meant. The fire is decided before the match is struck, because the real secret was never the flame. It was the preparation, the drying, the patience, the understanding of material instead of brute force consumption. And that principle extends far beyond firewood. The Amish built entire systems around slow efficiency instead of endless replacement. Heat, food storage, insulation, ventilation, preservation. Knowledge passed hand to hand instead of sold month to month. That knowledge almost disappeared because modern culture trained people to value convenience over endurance, fast heat, fast products, fast replacement. But slow systems often outperform expensive modern ones because they were refined over generations instead of quarterly profits. If this video gave you something useful, subscribe to Vita Nova Health, because there are still hundreds of forgotten systems like this hiding in old farmhouses across America. And next week, I'm going to show you the strange material Amish builders place behind interior walls that keeps rooms warmer in winter and dramatically cooler in summer without increasing electricity use at all. It is not fiberglass. It is not spray foam. And most contractors under 40 have never even seen it used properly. Until then, the next time your fire dies too early, look at the wood before you blame the flame. Please make sure to subscribe to my channel.